Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Lead, Sell, Grow, the Human Experience Podcast. Could not be more excited about the guest I have today. Before I introduce my guest, though, if you have not been in the Facebook group, get over there, check out and join, actually. Facebook group is Lead, Sell, Grow, the Human Experience Mastermind. We can collaborate in there. You can get some ideas, talk to me personally and directly. Another thing I want to give a big shout out to the sponsors of this show, and that's the Long Walk Home. It's a nonprofit organization here in Venice, Florida, focused strictly on saving veterans' lives, and that's a mission very dear to my heart. So without further ado, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but I've been invited into Paul Martinelli's six-figure mentorship program. And one of the things I'm doing is kind of meeting other mentors. My guest today just happens to be Westley Morris, who's also a mentor in Paul Martinelli's mentorship program. His lane is speaking. So he's going to be teaching people how to speak. So last week, a couple of weeks ago, I get on a call with Westley, and I'm like, yeah, man, so tell me about yourself. Just thinking, it's another guy who, started a business, became a motivational speaker. That could not be further from the truth. We went so deep. Westley was born in a household that was full of drugs, and it was a home of prostitution. So, I know we can't we don't have any control over the hand that we're dealt, but it's how we play that hand that's important. And up until, late 20s, Wesley's hand was just complete shit. And the way he played it was, how do you play a hand when you're born into a situation like that in Philadelphia, where everything around you is drugs, prostitutions, arrest, everybody you know is going to jail? At 22, he lost his license. But then my man started multiple businesses and succeeded while he was riding his bike. So Westley, I can't wait to hear this story, man. Welcome to Lead, brother.
Thank you so much. And it's an honor to be on the show. It's an honor to get to know you. One of the things that I'm really, really good at, that the streets have really increased my awareness, is being able to read people. And Eric, I can tell without a doubt in my mind that, you're a good egg, right? And I see you on social media. I've been in your presence on multiple occasions via virtually, and I could just tell, you are the man that you say you are, and that's what we strive to be. So thank you so much for having me on the show. Yeah, it was, just to kind of touch on what you were saying. I grew up, we grew up poor, actually. I was supposed to be a farm boy. I grew up I was born into a farming community in the rural areas of Pennsylvania. And it's an area where, your work ethic is more important than your actual intelligence, meaning, how much you can get done around the farm is more important than what you bring home on your report card, because survival is at the forefront of your mind. So I still, to this day, hold one of the leadership values that I practice in all my affairs, which is, feed your animals first. And, people aren't animals, but on the farm, you don't eat until your chores are done, until your animals are fed. And as a leader, I don't get paid. I don't eat until my people are taken care of first. They come first. Leaders eat last. So that's the environment that I kind of grew up in. And then my whole life really changed when I was 7 years old and 12 years old. And I was just telling my wife this story last night. When I was 7 years old, the police raided our apartment. They raided our apartment. And if you've ever experienced or watched a TV show where the police raid the house, they flip everything upside down. My parents were selling cocaine, and I was just mad because my toys were everywhere. They just took my toys and they
Imagine.
flipped. So my Legos and my Lincoln Logs were everywhere.
How'd you get to an apartment from a farm?
So at 9 months old, my mom walked away from my biological father. We were living in a 1-room cabin. Apparently we shot deer and raised vegetables in order to survive. We were dirt poor. And one day my mom just had enough, and she took me and my sister and she brought us to the Lehigh Valley. It's outside of Philadelphia. This was 1986. She was 23 years old. She was brokenhearted. She was scared and didn't have any job skills, any life skills. She really didn't know what she was doing, but she had a strong will to survive. And how we got that apartment was my mom opened up her own massage therapy business in 1989, and we lived in the apartment above. She opened up her own massage place with the best intentions of doing the right things. My mom is probably one of the hardest working women that I've ever met in my entire life. But even with the best intentions and a good work ethic, sometimes that negative voice can talk to you in your own voice, and it can make you do things that you wouldn't necessarily do. And when I was 12 years old, I came home from wrestling practice. I thought that I had a normal life. I thought that I had all the materialistic things that I could ever want. But I'm 12 years old and I come home from wrestling practice and I'm standing on the sidewalk, and the state police detectives have my whole house surrounded. I'm 12 years old. I'm confused. I'm scared. I don't know what's going on. And I watched my mom get carried out in handcuffs at 12 years old. And she was being arrested for running a prostitution enterprise. My mom was a madam. And that night I cried myself to sleep. And the next day I went to school and all the kids made fun of me. It was a very small town. And, I didn't know how to process my emotions. I didn't know how to sort through the confusion and contradiction that had become my life. I didn't know how to deal with the reality of my life. I just simply wanted to run. And, I did, at 12 years old, you're almost at that age where you're exposed to drugs and alcohol. And that's exactly what I did. I started hanging out with the bad kids, and I got my first DUI when I was 15 years old. I didn't even have a license. I stole a car and I was drinking, and I got my first DUI. By the time I was 19 years old, I had lost my license for 22 years.
Oh, so it wasn't at 22 years old. It was at 19. You lost it for 22 years. So I made a mistake.
Years. Yeah.
Holy shit.
And I didn't care. I didn't care about life. I didn't care about your life or mine. I was just an angry, scared little kid that just didn't understand why this had to happen to him. When I was 15 years old, I walked into the bathroom with my sister was dead on the floor. She had overdosed from a heroin addiction. Yeah, I was 15 years old, So
How
I
old was your
experienced.
sister? She was 19.
She was 19. She was dead. She was dead on the floor. She was blue in the face. She was unresponsive. She had a needle sticking out of her arm, and I gave her CPR, and I got 911 there, and they were able to resuscitate her. But when the paramedics came, they said, "Oh no, not her again." It was the 6th time that she had overdosed that week. Wow. So I just to give you an idea of the environment that I grew up in, no father figure, no real guidance, no one really believing in me, lost my license for 22 years. Mom's a prostitute. Nobody's really saying, "Hey, Wes, you're really going to achieve a lot of things in your life." Nobody's there to do that. I had developed limiting beliefs about myself way before I even knew who I was. So my idea of escaping my reality was to move. I'm a runner. If I don't like the way I feel, I'm out. See ya. So my best idea was to move to Philadelphia. And long story short, I became a homeless heroin addict in North Philadelphia, selling bottles of water in the middle of the street for $1 a piece so I could get what I needed to get. I was 50 pounds less than I am right now. I was malnourished. I was dehydrated. I was a junkie.
Dude, how old were you?
I was 24, 25 years old.
Man, and where was your mom at that time? Did you have any relationship with her?
I did, but see, I wasn't really telling anyone. See, I had moved away from home, and I would keep up a good facade on the outside, but listen, and this is so important because we all have problems, Eric. We all have problems. It's one thing to have a problem in your life, whether it be big or small, but it's another thing to have the shame and guilt of not being able to talk to anybody about it.
Yeah.
So if everyone has problems and there is a 4-letter password to success, and it's HELP, and we allow our pride and ego to stop us from getting the help with whatever the problem may be. So that's where I was at. I felt so much shame and guilt as a result of what my life had become that I wasn't able to tell anybody. And in hindsight, when I remember vividly standing in the middle of the street selling bottles of water like this so I could hopefully I could sell 9 and I could get what I needed to get for that hour or whatever the case may be. And in that moment, I realized how every decision throughout my entire life led me to that point right there. A decision not to deal with my feelings, a decision to allow other people's opinions of me to dictate my decisions. All my decisions throughout my entire life led me to being a homeless heroin addict in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
I truly believe that our lives are a direct result of the people that we spend the most time with, the books that we read, and the decisions that we make. Sum total of all that. And
all of those really are the decisions you make. I mean, think about it. You decide which people you're going to spend time with. You decide which books you're going to read or not read.
Correct.
Everything's about a decision.
Yeah. And power really is that space in between stimulus and response.
It's my man, Viktor Frankl, man. You're giving me chills. Chills.
That is where power lies. I didn't know that. For years, it was thought, action, thought, action, thought, action. There was no space in between those two things. Viktor Frankl, yeah, amazing. Auschwitz. So go ahead.
Nah, man, that's a crazy story. Go ahead. So I'm just, before you go on, did you have any relationship with your dad? Like, did he ever try to reach out to you as a little kid, or did he stay on a farm?
My father stayed up in my father stayed up in Bloomsburg, and I would love to play the victim role. I would love to say it's someone's fault as to why I ended up that way. And that very well may be true. It's just that nobody cares.
Right.
Nobody cares. Oh, your mom was arrested for that. Your dad wasn't there. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
So my dad, God bless him. He is the epitome of a mountain man. My dad will catch a fish with his bare hands and rip a deer's throat right out of it, lace it up, But in terms of dealing with his emotions and things of that nature, not so much. But self-sufficient, I mean, he's the best,
So it sounds like, do you know him now?
I do. Yeah, I know who my father is. Yeah, definitely. It's just that we don't have that relationship.
You don't. Okay. Got it. All right. So
to give you a good depiction of my dad, I just got married in September. And it was this beautiful wedding. It was at a nice, 3-star restaurant. And my dad showed up and he was wearing a wolf t-shirt.
There's a wolf on the t-shirt?
There was a wolf on the t-shirt,
Yeah.
That's my dad.
That's the epitome of like, I don't care what you say or think.
No,
Me.
no.
I love it.
Anyway, so yeah, so there was my dad. You know, I can remember vividly moving back home. I had failed as a drug user. You know, I moved back into my house at 26 years old, 27 years old, and I'm living in the same room that I grew up in, and you know, my life is going nowhere, even quicker and quicker and quicker. It's obvious that I have a problem, but my mom, you know, she doesn't really want to believe it. And one day, I'll never forget, my mom walked into my room and I was about to inject heroin into my veins. And the look on her face and the look of the disappointment was more than I could handle. And I dropped to my knees and I prayed like I've never prayed before in my life. And it was the most humble prayer. And it was, please, God, help me.
Man. So this is, at this point, this is about 15 years since your mom's arrest. You were 12, now you're 27.
Yep, exactly.
Where was your mom? Like, at what point in her life, what was she doing with her life?
So that's an amazing story. My mom got arrested in 1997. She was completely blackballed by society, by the community. You know, it was a big write-up in the local newspaper, and we, you know, it's a small town.
Yeah, she probably knew everybody's husband that was cheating.
I often say, listen, your mom was doing it for free. At least my mom was getting paid.
There you go.
But
wait, so she was providing the services, or she had the girls who were providing the services, or both?
Both.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Yeah. My mom was completely embarrassed and blackballed, and you know, she made a decision that she was going to do the right thing, that she was going to change her ways, that she was going to redeem herself, and she was going to show her kids that it's possible to come back from something so devastating and to succeed. So she started getting involved with the right people. She stayed underneath the same name, underneath the same business in the same town, and she fought. I would come home from school and I would go check on my mom, and she'd be on her hands and knees and she'd be wiping up the floors, and she'd look up at me with tears in her eyes, and I say, Mom, what's the matter? And she'd just say, Wes, I'm praying. 3 years after that arrest, the year 2000, I come home from school, I check on my mom, and she says, hold on, I want you to meet somebody. And I'm expecting Joe Blow, the mailman, to come walking down the hallway. And I look to my left, and there's Donovan McNabb, the head quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, walking down the hallway. My mom went on to be the head massage therapist for the Philadelphia Eagles from 2000 to 2012. Andy Reid, Brian Westbrook, David Akers, any big name within that 12-year period, she put her hands on.
Man, that's pretty cool.
Because she stayed in the same place and she fought to do the right thing. And when you make a decision that you're going to do whatever it takes, man, doors start opening up. The reason why people don't have the lives that they want and deserve is because they haven't made a decision to burn the boats. You want to take the island, you got to burn the boats. There's no plan B because it diverts from plan A. And that's what she did, man. Best comeback story I've ever seen in my entire life. There's going to be a movie. I promise you.
Dude, that's awesome, man. That is so great. So I just saw a video of you getting baptized a couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was even last weekend on Facebook. Mm-hmm. That woman that was there, was that your mom?
That was my mom.
Man, she looked like she's been a church lady like her whole life.
I know. Yes, I look like a regular businessman, but
you are.
You would never think.
Man. Look, okay, cool. So license suspended, you're back home, you get on your knees, you're praying, asking God for help.
This is the best part. God started showing up in my life. People started showing up in my life. I got involved in a 12-step program. They loved me back to life, and they taught me how to live a life without the use of drugs and alcohol. I became an ironworker welder. I made 80 grand a year. I had the girlfriend, I was driving without a license. I had a 2-bedroom apartment, and, I was making $1,400 a week. So at 27, 28 years old, it's like you hit the lotto, right? I used to be selling bottles of water.
Especially where you came from. Yeah.
Exactly. Now I'm making 80 grand a year. This is it, right? This is the American dream. So I have all these things, but I want to put a 9mm in my brain.
Why?
Because I realize that success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure.
No, but what were the thoughts going through your mind back then that said, hey, you should just blow your brains out?
Why do I have all these things that I thought that I wanted, but I'm still not happy? I'm angry inside. I don't like myself, right? And I realized that I didn't know it then, but I know it now. I couldn't fix a spiritual void with a physical thing. It'll never happen. And that's where I was so baffled. I was so confused. I have everything that I thought was supposed to make me whatever I thought it was supposed to make me, and it's not. I'm working 60 hours a week. I'm constantly just chasing the next thing. And I was like, man, I got this wrong. And I realized that success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure, man. So I completely changed the trajectory of my life. I walked away from the job, told the girl she's got to go, and basically sold my car after driving without a license for 9.5 years. I started riding a bicycle. I moved into a recovery house with 7 other guys. Last week, I was making $1,400 a week. This week, I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent. And this guy bought me a bicycle for $100.
Why did you quit your job?
Because it was 60 hours a week, and I was absolutely miserable.
Okay.
And I realized that life is way too short to go through unhappy.
Was that the runner in you?
Possibly. But in hindsight, I'm glad that I did. I'm very glad that I did.
Yeah.
I truly believe that we all have a purpose. And when I wasn't living in my purpose, it was a struggle to get up. I had no energy, no drive, no passion.
Yeah, but back then you didn't know that. There's a ton of welders who are going to work. So right now you've been in the personal growth space for a little while, and you've heard of that thermometer versus thermostat, right?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, was it that your thermostat was still set on that, worthless drug user, nobody gives a shit about me? And as soon as that's where your subconscious kind of thermostat is set, and as soon as you get out of that and you start making 80 grand, you see a different type of life, boop, your subconscious brings you right back down. Say, no, that, you don't even know why.
That's very feasible. That is fair. In this specific scenario, the people that I was working with, I couldn't stand these guys because they were all miserable. And all they would do was backbite on each other all day long. And I don't know, man. I couldn't stand it. But yes, self-sabotage and coming back to where your mindset is.
Moving back into the house with 12 guys, like no money, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, it could be. It's interesting how that works.
I've never taken a look at that.
Sorry, that's my coach coming out. Just
no, it's a great question.
You remind me of that quote that Bane says. Remember when he was fighting Batman? Have you seen that Batman? I don't know which one it is with Bane. Bane was so badass.
No.
Oh, dude. So he comes out and he's like, you merely adopted the dark. I was born in it. And I'm like, man, this guy, Wesley, you were born in it, man. And you freaking crawled out.
Yeah. And that's why the next part of the story is so amazing, because when you become comfortable in your terrible situation, anything outside of that is extremely difficult, right? It's hard. And the hardest part is believing that you're worthy, that you're enough.
How do you get that belief?
Ooh.
Because that's everybody. I mean, to an extent, that's everybody. Besides people who really, truly work on themselves, I'd say over 90% of people really don't believe in themselves.
How do you build a belief, right?
Yeah. How did you build a belief?
I just put my head down and kept my freaking feet moving. Even when I didn't believe, even when I didn't know what to do. I took that same business, that massage business, right after I left that position as a welder. I was walking these dogs for $10 a day. I was riding a bicycle, and everything in my mind was telling me, yo, everyone's laughing at you, bro. You're 30 years old. You're riding a bicycle. You have nothing to show. They're laughing at you. Bro, to this day, I don't know who they are.
Yep.
I don't know who they are. But when I find them, I'm gonna mess them up. And I get this message that says, go help your mom. Go help your mom.
You're not talking about a text message.
No, I'm talking about divine intervention, the infinite mind of God impressing upon my conscious mind this idea that I'm supposed to go help my mom. And I just told you this incredible redemption story that she has. So when God told me to go help my mom, yeah, I'll ride a bike 30 miles to go take my family business. I took my family business from being a Google search away from knowing it was running a prostitution ring in 1997 to growing it 1,000% in 4 years. We have NFL clients. I'm leaving right after this podcast to go to Gainesville, Florida, to go work on an Olympic class track and field star. Her name's Talitha Diggs. She's one of my greatest friends. We have 10 therapists. We have multiple rooms. We're maxed out. It's a $500,000 business.
That's so awesome.
And I did it while riding a bicycle, because my why was greater than my how. And when your why is greater than your how, it doesn't matter what stands in your way. You're going to get through it.
Yeah, the how doesn't really matter, does it?
No, not at all.
So, all right. So talk to me about some kind of steps you took, man. What did you do to grow your business? First of all, what was your why?
My why was that 12-year-old little boy that needed to heal. My why was that I had never really compartmentalized. I had never really made peace with what had happened. I had run from everything my entire life. And it was finally at 30 years old, it was time to face that 12-year-old little boy that just needed to heal. And I never wanted anyone to ever talk badly about my family business ever again.
Mm. So what did you do? What steps did you take? Like when you got there, what was the business doing? And then
when I got there, my mom was a one-man band. She was 56 years old. She was doing the massages, the scheduling. My mom had a paper book. It was 2017. She God bless her soul. She was doing the laundry, the massages, the advertising, everything. She was a one-man band. And I quickly realized, with no entrepreneurial experience whatsoever, that if you took her out of the equation, there was no business.
She's the business.
There's a book called The E-Myth.
Yeah.
It's Why Small Businesses Fail. It's a great book, right?
Yep.
Just because you're great at being an electrician doesn't mean that you're great at running an electrician's business. And, I realized she was the business. So the first thing I did was, I was like, okay, we have to rebrand. We have to get away from this name. It doesn't matter what you did. It takes 20 years to build a good reputation. It takes 5 minutes to ruin it, right? So we need to get away from that name. We got to rebrand. I rebranded, and my mom told me in the beginning, just show up, Wes. Just show, even if you don't know what you're doing, just show up. And she was so right, because success is 50% just showing up. It's just showing up. That's, you could beat 50% of people just by showing up. 40% is having a good attitude. So 90% of success is just showing up and having a good attitude. Now that last 10%, you're going to have to fight for. And that's what I did, man. I fought. I woke up every day. The very first thing I did when I started waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning is I would listen to YouTube motivational videos. I would listen to the John Maxwells and the Les Browns and the Zig Ziglars and the Jim Rohns and the Tony Robbinsons. I would, your brain, your mind is operating at 10.5 wavelengths per second the first 30 minutes that you're awake. That is when your mind is most susceptible to new information. So I would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. The very first thing I would do is say thank you. I would go downstairs, pour my coffee, boom, YouTube motivational videos. And then I would write my goals down every single day, what I had to get done for the day, for the week, for the month, for the year. And I did that consistently for 5 years. And I reprogrammed my mind to do whatever it takes. I'm talking about 12-hour days, 6 days a week for 5 years.
How did you know to do that? I mean, here you are, but by this point, 2017, how long have you been clean at that point?
2017, I was clean 7 years.
Okay, so you've been, I mean, that's a good time, but you're still, you know, your life still hasn't, you're riding a bike, you're not too happy where you are.
Yeah, I hadn't really evolved.
You haven't really evolved, but you stopped using, so that was pretty cool.
Correct. Yeah.
What clicked that said you got to listen to motivational videos?
You know, I remember the very first one that I listened to. It was on the bus. I was on the bus. I was on YouTube. And something just told me to type in motivational videos. That same voice.
That's your intuition, man.
Yeah, my intuition.
Listening to it.
And I remember the way that I felt at the end of that bus ride. I felt like I could do it. And then I started researching successful people and what they do. And I realized that they all wake up super early. They all exercise, they all journal, they all write their goals down. I researched what I wanted to become. And then I started to become that. It wasn't rocket scientist.
No, but I have people, man, that I swear to God, I got people that are like, dude, I really hate my job. I got to make a change. And I'm like, I got the right thing for you. I know the best thing. And there's this Jim Rohn video. I think it's called Your Best Life Ever Weekend Seminar on YouTube. It's 4 hours long. Literally 4 hour long video. I'm like, watch this video. Watch it in chunks. Watch it an hour a day for 4 days. It'll change the way you look at things. It'll change the way you start thinking. You know how many people actually see that video? None of them. I haven't yet had somebody come back and said, I watched the whole thing. Nah, maybe a couple have, but they were already on that personal growth journey. Most people who are stuck, I go back to them a month later. Hey, did you ever watch that? Nah, I got busy. I don't. It was like.
Well, that's because people usually, they want the results, but they don't want to do the work. And what they don't realize is it's not the results that's the payoff. It's the person that you become as a result of doing the work. Listen, a pickle doesn't go back to being a cucumber once it's a pickle. A butterfly can never go back to being a caterpillar. I am forever changed.
Man, that's deep.
I can never go back. Sure, I can stumble, I can make mistakes, but my mindset is forever changed.
Your beliefs are different.
My beliefs are different.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty. It's not the business. It's not the money. It's the person that I became. I could do this again and again and again. I'm unstoppable.
Yeah, man. Dude, so I've listened to that 4-hour video. I don't know how many times. I got books with notes on Jim Rohn's kind of philosophy. And even now, I'll listen to like 10 minutes. I literally take my phone in the shower and I'll turn on a motivational video as I'm just showering, man. And it's been since 2014 that I first heard it. And just last week or this week, I heard him say, and I've heard him say this probably 15, 20 times. I heard him say, if somebody was to hand you $1 million, you better become a millionaire very quickly. And I never understood what the hell that meant until last week. I fucking got it. I got it. I'm like, hold on. That's why people who win the lottery lose all their money very quickly most of the time. They're not a millionaire yet. The money doesn't make you a millionaire. The mindset makes you a millionaire. It's like, man, I got it. All right, now what do I need to do to become a millionaire up here? That's the question.
I tell people all the time, unless you learn how to manage it, making more will do nothing for you.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. All right, so what did you do? So there are people right now, they're kind of struggling. They're starting their own business and they're hearing you, like, guy who went from the shithole you came from and just grew a business, no driver's license, no excuse.
I grew 2 of them, actually, just for the record.
What's the second one?
I joined a network marketing company year 1 of Saucon Valley Massage. And just because some guy told me that I wasn't going to do anything with it, I went to the top 3% and became the rising star of that company. They sent me on. I was a top performer in a network marketing company. I grew at 80 associates. I made $100,000 and I bought this home with that business. So I was simultaneously growing 2 businesses in separate industries at the same time. It was insane.
Was that ACN?
No, it was Stream Energy, but ACN just bought them.
Got it. Okay, I know.
Yeah.
I remember we talked about ACN a little bit. Hey, good for you, man. And then that's another thing. Like, how many freaking people join these things and do nothing with it because they just want the success? And then they'll tell you how it's a Ponzi scheme, it's BS, it's whatever, it's a pyramid scheme. And then there's clearly people like you who make something of themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, they want the results. They're not willing to do the work, right? I mean, self-development and growth and acquiring the things that you want. Number one, you got to believe that you can. That's the very first step. And then number 2, don't ask yourself what it is that you want. Going back to our conversation, ask yourself, who do I need to be to acquire it? That's the real question. What kind of person would I look like if I had these things? And then take steps towards being that person.
Yep. What do I wear? How do I act? What happens when somebody cuts me off in traffic? What am I doing? How do I greet people? You got to freaking be able to answer those questions. You got to know who you are creating to be. That's so freaking cool, man. And you use the word mindset. I'm actually hosting my first mentorship call on Tuesday, April 5th. And by the time this is released, it'll be past the call. But my first thing, the title of that call, and it's our own content. It's not like we're teaching Paul's content. Paul's just giving us the platform, but it's our content to teach. And I was wondering, like, the lane is business building was the first freaking thing that if anybody's building a business needs to do. And we got to check the mindset. And then, so I took the words mindset, and I started looking at them, and I realized that we are looking at that shit the wrong way. Because people will tell you, have you ever heard somebody say, I just got to get in a different mindset? Or, hey, you just need to change your mindset or get into a new mindset. We say that, but we don't realize that we're the ones who set the mindset. That's the set part. You set your mind. And nobody does. We all look at, I can't be positive today. It's raining outside. I can't be positive today. My neighbor died, or my dad passed away, or my mom's sick, or whatever the tragedy is. And they'll say, okay, because of this, I can't feel good. And that's not the case. Like, we can find gratitude, we can find joy, we can feel good, be positive, and with anything going on outside of us. So that's going to be my first lesson, man. The mindset of a business builder.
I'm excited for your call, man. I am going to blow you up on multiple platforms.
I appreciate you, brother.
Absolutely.
I'm pumped for yours too, because you're such an amazing speaker. You're going to be teaching people how to speak.
I'm so excited for the opportunity. And just to go into what you said, I woke up this morning angry, like just I would, I struggle with anger. It's one of my character defects, but just being on this call, actually, excuse me, the second that I saw you and you gave a yell and I gave a yell, and I'm realizing I'm going to be on a plane in 2 hours from now going down the floor. What are you angry about?
What are you angry about? How long are you in Florida, by the way?
Till Sunday.
Man, I'm in Disney. But anyway, all right. So talk to me, Wes. People who are starting a business, and by the way, I can talk to you for hours. People who are starting a business, what do they need to do to get to start seeing some success?
Well, the first thing to anybody starting a business, I would say check your motives. Have an honest conversation with yourself as to why you are about to do this. Because if the answer is money, that's fine. But what are you going to do when there's no money? Or when it's not flowing right away? Are you going to quit because your motive was money? So I would say, check your motives. And then number two, and I love that Paul explains this, you can do it the hard way and take 10 years to figure it out, or you could find somebody else that's already done it and you could mentor through them and you can cut that time down to like a quarter of it. So find somebody that's already done what you want to do and pick their brain, model what they do. Success leaves clues.
Yeah, don't reinvent the wheel. Yeah,
exactly.
How much have you personally invested in mentors?
Got to be 60,000 over the course of 4 years in self-development and programs and things of that nature. Yeah, absolutely.
Did you get your money back?
10 times.
Does it feel like it was as like you were spending money?
In the beginning, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to spend this money. But, in hindsight, it has always come back 10 times over. And therefore, it's just a part of my budget now. Like, it's budgeted out. It's accounted for. It's good. And so personal development is incredible. Absolutely.
Dude,
yeah.
And this is what's incredible is the both of us have now created a life for ourselves, where today is Thursday, March 31st. At 9 a.m. we got on this podcast. Yeah. I don't have to worry about a freaking boss wondering where I'm at. I don't have to worry about working to make money this week or next week. But it took a lot of work to get to this point. It took a lot of work to get to this point and not worry about stupid shit that most people worry about. But most people want the results. They want to not have to go to work. They want to be able to do what they want, when they want, how they want. But they're not willing to take the steps to do it. And I feel like you had an advantage coming from just complete shit to where your ships were burned. You grew up, there were no ships. What was your freaking plan? What was the plan B? Mom's got arrested, no dad, drugs, prostitution. What ship were you going to get on?
Don't die. That was the plan. Just
don't die. That's plan. That's plan A. When your plan A is don't die, what the hell is plan B?
Don't die. Yeah. So there's no excuse. If you want something bad enough, you will figure it out. or you'll make an excuse.
Or you'll figure out how to get in touch with people who will help you figure it out. You just got to show up with the right attitude and work your ass off for the last 10%.
Yeah, absolutely. Final, going back to, it's not the results that are important, it's the person that you become. My mom walked in on me about to stick a needle on my arm. She watched me ride a bike 8.5 miles a day to get to the business. She watched me put in 12-hour days, 6 days a week consistently for four to 5 years. One night, we're power struggling because I'm trying to take control and lead us this way. She wants to stay in her comfort zone and go over here. And, I don't want to build and grow. And I'm like, come on, lady, let's go. So it's 9 o'clock at night. We're both tired. We've worked all day. She's locking the front door. I'm getting into my Uber. It's 9 o'clock at night. I look at the front of the building. I just did a facade improvement program. It's new signage, new lighting, new paint. It's beautiful. The front of the building looks gorgeous. And, all day long, we've been butting heads. And she's locking up the door. I'm getting into my Uber. And I look at the building and I scream at her. And I said, "Hey, lady, nice fucking building." And she stops. And she looks up at the building. And she looks at me. And she said, "My son did that."
Man, that's pretty. How'd that feel?
And I realized that what we do is never really for us. It's always to reach back and help someone else. God didn't pick me up out of the gutter in North Philadelphia and dust me off so that I could do all these wonderful things for me. He did it so that I could help millions of people. And that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Man, that was beautiful, Wes. That was beautiful. Reese, I'm reading this book right now. It's called The Book of Joy. It's by Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. And I'm reading it because I really want to understand how do you just stay in a state of joy? Because scientifically it's been proven you can't be in a state of joy and a state of fear at the same time. You can't be angry and joyful at the same time. So I'm like, okay, these are emotions I don't want to feel anymore. And they just kind of know how to creep in all the time. But what if I learn how to just put myself in a state of joy? Then they can't creep in. That's kind of my thought process. And in it, the Dalai Lama says, everything in this world was designed to serve something else or someone else. Everything. Like the chair is designed to serve us. Trees are designed for food, for oxygen. Like everything is designed for something else, to serve someone else.
Right.
Us too, isn't it? That applies to people too.
It does. And all the original root source of all human suffering. And when I say human suffering, anger, fear, jealousy, envy, all of it is me thinking about me. This morning, when I woke up angry, it was me thinking about me. And that is the root cause of being pissed off, frustrated, angry, all those negative emotions. It's me thinking about me. So when I flip that and change the focus of my energy onto someone else and helping someone else, now I'm no longer thinking about, I thought about this podcast and I was super excited to jump on here and talk to my friend Eric, right?
Man, you over delivered, man. This is so great. So on top of the business, like you had the direct marketing business, you guys got the massage going, the massage where you guys are rocking the world right now.
Yeah.
You're also an inspirational speaker.
Yes.
And you're also teaching people how to speak in public.
Yes. Yep.
Really quickly, what does that take?
And it's so funny because I'm developing my teaching points for this call. And I'm so excited because, the main fear of most people is public speaking. It's a huge fear. And the reason why is because we're focusing on ourselves. It's me thinking about me. But when you think, I have something to serve, I have something to deliver to these people that can break down the barriers that are holding them back from their dream life. When you come from that mindset, man, I'm excited to get on there, right? And just, developing your story. I think it's so important that to develop your story in a way that impacts people and punches them right in the throat and makes them think about their own life and how they can apply it into their own life so that they can create their dream life. Communication, if you look at many successful people over the history of time, they were all great communicators. And communication is influence, and influence is leadership. No more, no less. So yeah, I love being on that stage. I love impacting people. When you give someone a really great massage or they come in with pain, they leave and they say, wow, I feel so good. You changed the way that I feel in my body temple. What I want is you change my life. You changed my life. So yeah, I'm excited about it, man. It's so good to meet you too. I've been trying to go through and connect with all the mentors, and it's just a panel of really great people, really good people. I see why Paul picked, this group. So it's good stuff, man.
I'm honored to be a part of it, man. Paul's been kind of like, I've held Paul in the highest esteems. I've followed him since probably 2014. There's absolutely no wonder I started my business in 2015, got that confidence, and just it's been a great ride. Wes, thanks for being here, man. How do people get in touch with you? How do they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on social media. I'm big on the Facebook platform, Westley Morris, or go to wesleymorris.com and check out the website. There's a way you can jump on my schedule or message me on there.
Yeah, love your story. You're going to impact so many lives. You're already impacting a ton of lives, and I can't wait to learn about public speaking from you. So I'm definitely jumping on your calls, man.
Likewise, man. You're a good dude, Eric. Keep doing what you're doing. I love the family. I love watching you grow and evolve, man. Thanks a lot for having me.
I'll see you soon.
All right, bro.